awesome, but night is scary. You're listening to SHIP, the Springfield Heights Institutional Podcast. We're your hosts, Jay Crestmere and John D.
How's it going?
And today, we are reviewing the episode Lost Verizon, the second episode of the 20th season. Before we get started, there were a couple things I wanted to mention. First, I wanted to give a big thank you to Emily from Ohio, who is doing the producing and editing this. And the other thing is, if you've been to some of the sites, which are, what are they again? The URL.
SpringfieldPodcast.blogspot.com.
Okay. And you can also find us on TalkShoe. Just search for Springfield. The other thing is, a couple of them had a couple spelling errors, which I just want to point out I was not involved with. I had nothing to do with that. So, one of them says my name is Jose. It's not. It's Josef, Josef. And someone also wrote down that we were washing every episode, and we are watching every episode.
We're washing to make sure they're clean.
Well, yes, but we are washing them, but that's only because the Parents Television Council put a gun to our heads.
All right. Do you want to get started?
And we also have... John's also going to tell us the some other places you can find us. We're going to do that at the end of the episode.
All right.
Because we have some other sites set up. Okay. Let's start out with a summary.
Okay. In this episode, Bart manages to get Dennis Leary's phone, his cell phone, I'm sorry, and uses it to make prank calls while posing as Dennis Leary. He also accepts a movie deal for the film adaptation as for Everyone Poops, as was The Ape.
Yeah, apparently it looked like Planet of the Apes.
Marge, while talking with Dennis Leary, Marge discovers that she can turn on a GPS feature and track Bart where he goes, and she foils a lot of his pranks. And then
Lisa tells Bart about the tracking, and Bart puts the tracking chip on a bird, and they end up going on a road trip to Machu Picchu in Peru. And while Bart's at home, he starts going crazy because he thinks a boogeyman's after him. And then
Milhouse put that idea in his head.
What?
Milhouse put the idea in his head by saying
it's
perfect boogeyman weather.
That's great boogeyman weather. And so then they come back, and after being gone for 2 weeks, and Bart pretends to hardly notice that they were gone, and they clings to Marge. And at the end of the episode, we discover Maggie's in South America being worshipped as a god.
All right.
Obviously, the title Lost Verizon is a parody of the novel Lost Horizon by James Hilton, which introduced Shangri-La, the concept of Shangri-La. Well, not the concept,
really?
but like the name for it.
I didn't know that. Shangri-La is not real, correct? It's like a mythical place in the Andes, someone has said?
It's in the Himalayas.
Himalayas, okay. That's what I meant.
It might have been like Prester John, though, where later people just sort of put it wherever. So.
Yeah. Is that where Iron Fist got the concept from?
Yeah, probably. I don't remember the name of the place he went to, though. It's like...
Well, there's 7 of them, right?
It was like a lost city. I have it, but I'm afraid that I'd screw up my setup if I went over to get my trades to look for it. Okay, the first thing I want to say is that this episode started on time because the NFL didn't run over.
Yay!
Yeah, that's always a good thing. There was a longer opening. Not that much longer, but it was a little bit longer. So I'm thinking this season they're going to do part of the opening every time rather than a full opening.
I kind of like that better because, I mean, I know the opening in and out. You know what I mean?
I do too, but if you notice when we were rewatching the first episodes, which probably aren't going to air for a few months, so if we have some crappy episodes in there, that's why. How different the opening was.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to see, like, middle-aged punchy Bart chasing after the bus at an opening. That would be hilarious.
Haven't they done that? If I'm remembering, Bart got fat. And then they did a parody of the opening where Bart's rolling down the street in the sidewalk on a skateboard and the sidewalk's cracking. And the part where he swings around on the pole bends.
Yeah. Okay, well, I was just saying, that that's what I think they're going to be doing this season. I don't know for sure. The couch gag was Mount Rushmore, which was a fairly good couch gag, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, the episode starts out with Agnes and Seymour Skinner on the highway, and Seymour runs out of gasoline because he only filled it up with the dollar worth, and apparently he thought he'd only use 90 cents. So he ends up having to dodge traffic getting more gas while his mom reads It's All Luck, her bingo strategy book.
That's a great name because it is truly all luck. Unless you know somebody on the inside.
Unless there's some kind of strategy to set up your card.
Yeah.
I don't know, whenever, like, I was in class in, like, high school and middle school and we played bingo, I never won.
You know what's funny? Like UPS had a thing for the college students, and like I was running it. Like I won like 5 times out of the 20 games I was there. Of course, I won like shaving cream, a picture frame, a disposable camera. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Thanks. I'd rather be on spring break. But
after UPS's billions of dollars in profit, they could give you shaving cream.
Yeah, I mean seriously,
at least they're giving you something.
True. At least they give me free health insurance.
Yeah.
So, you know one thing I noticed in this episode, and it was kind of subtle, I don't know, when they showed the Texan, did you notice what university he went to?
No, what one? Yeah.
It was on his shirt. He's a Texas Longhorn.
Oh, okay.
Which makes sense.
No, I didn't notice that. I just thought it was hilarious he was shooting at Bart.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought it would have been funnier if they said he went to Yale. And did they do an episode where they said he went to Yale? He was from Connecticut, like George W. Bush.
Probably.
Okay. The next thing I had was so while they're watching Principal Skinner dodge traffic, Milhouse sees him, records on his video phone, and he starts calling everybody. And we see Lewis again, who has been making background appearances since the beginning.
Yeah.
And then Nelson and Martin each get the call as Nelson's beating up Martin. Or eating up Martha. I know it was one of the other bullies who did that. I just thought that was hilarious to put in. Jimbo has a shirt hanging on his line that says I Heart Puppies. And,
see, he's a softie.
Yeah. And then we discover that, and which one, was it Dolph or Kearney who had the Bluetooth headset?
I think Kearney did.
Okay.
Kearney's the one with the white shirt, bald head.
No, it was the one with the long hair. I think that was Dolph.
That's Dolph, yeah.
Okay,
You know, I find it weird, though. Like, I wonder why they picked Jimbo, because Jimbo kind of evolved out of the gang into his own character, you know what I mean? He should just be Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney. But, like, Dolph and Kearney are kind of still just ancillary characters, but Jimbo has kind of sort of evolved out of that gang.
He's gone from ancillary to secondary, I think.
I'd say maybe tertiary, but he's not an ancillary.
Nelson's secondary, Jimbo's tertiary.
Yeah.
And the other ones are quaternary.
Is that a real word?
Yeah, that's the one after tertiary.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the word after quaternary. If somebody wants to call it and let us know, then we'll say it on the air.
Heck, we'll play your call on the air.
Yeah. So Barney starts he's picking things up on the side of the highway, and he starts thinking Principal Skinner's a huge beer can, so he chases after him with that stick with the big pointy thing at the end. Which I don't know what that's called, but
I don't think they use those anymore. I think they use like the old people grabbers is what I call them. It's a stick and it has a little handle on it. On the bottom it has 2 little things with suction cups, and when you pull on the handle it squeezes the suction cup things together.
Well, so Bart misses out on that because he doesn't have a cell phone. He's having imaginary tea with Lisa wearing a cardboard top hat. And Bart's really pissed off, so he wants a cell phone. And Marge can't afford it because she's already buying frozen peas on an installment plan.
That was hilarious.
And they're getting like late notices from Green Giant or Jolly Green Giant. It would have been funnier if Mulk was sending them, but
Yeah, because
and
he's big and green.
and Lisa can't afford to go to Machu Picchu, and Maggie does assign me sad too. So next we go to Springfield Glen Country Club. Bart's outside, and he ends up getting hit by a golf ball. And he goes in and he sees Dr. Nick, who I thought was dead. I thought he died in the movie, but apparently he's alive again.
Yeah, I think honestly the movie could be taking place in any time in the continuity after. Well, no, actually, never mind, because they did reference the movie at the beginning of the 19th season, so never mind.
But Dr. Nick and Dr. Hibber are playing golf, and he gives Bart $1 to get the golf ball back, and Bart can't figure out how many golf balls it'll take to get $100. And then
Well, that's why
Hibber's
Dr. Hibbert sends his kids to private school.
I wish I could. That's why I'm sending. If I ever have kids, that's why I'm sending them to private school. They're going to boarding school in England. And not just because I'm a huge Anglophile and I never got to have that experience, but because, really, public schools in America are pretty much about the worst education you could get. And so Bart can't do math. The rich Texan shoots at Bart after he takes his golf ball as it's going into the hall. And we also find out Willie's off-season job.
Collecting golf balls.
What's he called?
I can't remember.
Greenskeeper Willie.
That's right.
He's Greenskeeper Willie. And that's probably the worst Scottish accent ever. Golf tournament. And Dennis Leary's there, partnering with Rainer Wolfcastle. And Lenny Carl and Kirk Van Houten are in the crowd watching. They are actually the crowd watching. After Dennis Leary gets a call and throws his cell phone in anger, Bart picks up his cell phone, and then he picks it up and he says, "Cool, I can watch commercials on it." And they cut to commercial break. Which is a really clever way to cut to it.
I like they do that a lot. Like in the one episode, I think it's called "This Is Lisa" or "The Life of Lisa." Sideshow Mel's doing a voiceover, and he says something about Lisa finding out about show business. He's like, "This is a business, as you'll soon discover in a few seconds." 3, 2, 1, commercial break.
I love that episode. That was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool way to cut to commercials. So when Bart gets his cell phone, he walks up to Milhouse's house and calls him, and they assign ringtones to each other. And then Dennis Leary gets his first call from someone else. It's from Brian Grazer, who's making his second appearance on The Simpsons. And for those of you who live under a rock who don't know who Brian Grazer is, he and Ron Howard run Imagine Entertainment, and that's one of the biggest entertainment companies in Hollywood right now. So he's acquired the rights to the book Everybody Poops, and he said Dennis Leary was the first person he thought of. Which, if I'm making Everybody Poops, he's the first guy I'm thinking of too. Have to admit that. But the caveat is that Dennis Leary has to do his own poops, and they're filming in 2D shot. Which I thought was funny because that's where Star Wars filmed. Milhouse discovers it. He describes Dennis Leary as Boston comedian turned movie star turned basic cable notable.
It's true. Which actually, his whole act was stolen from another comedian.
Who did he steal it from?
Oh, jeez. You put me on the spot. He died of cancer a little bit ago. Oh my gosh. Stay tuned. I'll tell you next week. I can't remember.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay.
Actually, I probably won't even remember. But, so... And then what gets Dennis Leary pissed off is that Bart calls his manager and tells him to spend all his money on Yankees gear.
Bill Hicks is the comedian that Dennis Leary stole his bit from. When asked in an interview what Bill Hicks... Well, someone asked him, like, it was obvious, people knew. And someone asked him, what do you think about Dennis Leary stealing your bit? He's like, it's good to see my jokes still work.
So, Anyway, for those of you who haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube because Joe Rogan confronts him at a comedy club and, like, a riot almost breaks out.
It's hilarious. Carlos Mencia doesn't know what to do. He's like, oh, I'm being called on my own BS.
Yeah, on stage, in front of a crowd of people. So, the Everybody Poops movie apparently looks like Planet of the Apes, and Dennis Leary's in a gorilla suit.
So this isn't the only Planet of the Apes reference we've seen on The Simpsons either.
No, it's a... the weird thing is, I kind of want to see that movie now just to see how you work Everybody Poops and Planet of the Apes together.
Yeah.
And, of course, Dennis Leary didn't even remember agreeing to be in it. Which I have to admit, I think there are a few movie stars who have done stuff like that.
Maybe that's what happened. Someone stole their cell phone and agreed to it.
Yeah, I can think of a few. I'm sure you can too.
Or at least doing favors for somebody.
Yeah. So Bart starts crank calling other bars. I assume he crank calls Mo first, but we don't see that.
Do you have a list of the names? Because I do.
I don't have the one for Hawaii, but I have the name.
It's Normus Butt, first name Maya.
Yeah, Maya Enormous Butt when he crank calls in Hawaii. Then he crank calls a bar called Crocodile Drunkies in Australia, looking for a droopy wiener. And then Inga Bar Bergmans in Sweden.
That was genius.
Who he calls for all of my friends are gay. Crocodile Drunkies. I thought that was hilarious.
I thought that was great how they just, like... I mean, I think that they did Ingmar Bergman justice in how they portrayed this scene in Sweden.
Oh, totally. I love the almost humorless Scandinavians.
Yeah, we shall teach him about the futility of human life.
And then they cut in close and do the existential reference. I thought that was great. And then we find out the sun never sets on the British Empire.
Yep.
Which is obviously a reference to the phrase that the sun never sets on the British Empire. Dennis Leary calls Bart back. He's really, really mad that his cell phone, that Bart was using his cell phone in a room full of Yankees gear. And Marge finds out he has a cell phone, and Bart tells him how he got the cell phone. How did he get the cell phone, John?
He found it, didn't he?
No, the same way Marge had Bart by accident on a golf course.
Oh, that's right. And that's true.
Even though Homer had his first kiss with Apu.
When was that?
Remember the episode they went inside Homer's mind and he destroyed his memory and Bart gave him one with Apu?
Oh, that's right. With the forget-me-shots?
What?
With the forget-me-shot?
Yeah. So Homer, so Marge tries to figure out what it is and Milhouse snitches on him because he's desperate for parental approval of any kind. Or adult approval of any kind. And Marge talks to Dennis Leary. She finds out parenting isn't hard, but having a stunt double running into a burning building and having everybody worried that the people watching will figure out it's not you, that's hard. Which is another one of those problems that only somebody in Hollywood could have.
Actually, I know a guy online who was a stunt double.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We also find out that Dennis Leary stalks every actor who gets a role that he was up for. Which I thought would have been funnier if they named somebody at that point, but
yeah, assuming it's Dennis Leary, there's probably a lot of actors he's stalking then.
Many. Well, since Dennis Leary plays a big role in this episode, do you watch Rescue Me at all?
No, I don't. Do you?
I tried watching a couple episodes. I tried watching, like, the first couple episodes, and it was alright, but...
So, is that what that scene is where he's...
I think I'm gonna give it another... I think I'm gonna, like, rent season 2 and give it another try. And watch the first couple episodes there. And then if I really like it, I'll keep going.
So that scene where he's getting those Pop-Tarts, is that a reference to Rescue Me, I would assume?
I don't know, maybe. I only watched a couple episodes of Rescue Me. I'm gonna give it another chance though, because apparently it's just like everybody loves that show.
That's what I've heard.
And, so Dennis Leary tells Marge that he can use the GPS feature on the cell phone to track Bart. And so Marge surprises Bart by letting him keep the cell phone. And she says, in these days of stranger danger and sinister ministers. What's another sex scandal reference on the show?
How many are they at now? Jeez.
We had straight Catholic priests. We had Liam Neeson as the priest who said that if he loses Marge and Bart, he'd be the worst priest ever, other than, well, you know, he kind of looks away.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been a few more. I don't know, I mean, at this point, the Catholic Church is just too easy of a target.
But it's still a fun one.
No
offense to you, Emily. Alright, so what happens after that?
I was just saying that I think that the Catholic sex scandal, despite the fact that it's pretty much destroyed the Catholic Church's PR for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I think it's becoming kind of cliche, don't you?
It's true. The jokes.
Yeah, there are only so many jokes about it that are funny. Now, Jeffrey Leonard, my favorite kitty diddling Aussie, that guy will never not be funny. I can watch the video over and over again and still laugh. I have that favorited on my YouTube page if anybody comes there. Okay, so Marge and Homer track Bart, and we discover that they own a laptop, despite the fact that they're making installment payments on Ps.
Well, it's an old laptop.
Okay. Do you know where that laptop came from? Or should we just assume it's something they've always had?
Just assume.
Okay. So we discover Bart goes by the comic store. He avoids the bullies. And he goes to a hard hat zone. He and Milhouse are playing on the forklift, and Marge catches him. They go to a movie called Sever at the Aztec Theater, which I'm guessing is like Saw. And Marge, takes him out of that. And then she catches him at Springfield Downs during a chariot race. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
In the background, they were doing chariot races.
I would watch a chariot race.
What?
I would watch a chariot race.
I kind of want to see a chariot race, and we discover Bart had a martini coming. Do you drink martinis at all?
I have a couple. Didn't enjoy them too much.
I drink the fruit martinis on occasion, but I don't think I've ever really had a regular martini. Oh, no, I have before. I wasn't a huge fan either, but I'm going to have to learn to like them because they're classy.
Just get scotch. Just drink scotch.
Huh. I'd rather drink scotch, actually. Well, I'd rather drink a Harvey Wallbanger, but apparently those aren't, like, classy drinks. I thought that the Marge and Homer catching Bart sequence would have been a perfect place for a Trab Poo Kip reference, don't you?
Yeah.
Trab Poo Kip. I kind of wish that were in a few more episodes because that was just hilarious.
But Milhouse, I told you to stop writing on the walls with my lipstick.
Trab Poo Kip. Okay, so Marge keeps catching Bart, and then Lisa catches Homer and Marge doing spying on Bart on their laptop, and they said they were doing laundry, and Homer asked Lisa asked Homer to do laundry. He pours the detergent on the clothes and throws them in the furnace.
Who has a furnace like that?
Nobody. A 19th century home. I mean, I think they actually did have a wood-burning furnace. But it was showing how... And Homer just stared cluelessly. And that's sort of what I think my mom would think it was like if I was trying to do laundry.
Well, she'd be halfway right, I assume.
I wouldn't throw it in the fucking furnace. Give me some credit. Okay, so... Yeah, Lisa catches them, and then we discover that Mo has Mo has bugs all over the Simpsons house. He's stalking Midge.
But the FBI also has bugs on Mo. Every word he says, another year in jail.
Yeah. Which is funny. He's stalking her. He can't even get her name right. And
Well, I think that's a running joke. I mean, as far as I know, that's what he always calls her.
Bart was calling for financing terms for double glazed windows, and Lisa tells Bart that Homer and Marge are tracking him on his cell phone. And Bart orders Viagra for Skinner and puts it in his coffee.
That was hilarious. So he's like walking all upright and stiff. He's like, "What is this in my coffee?"
I thought that was the funniest gag in this whole episode. So Bart takes the tracking chip out of his cell phone, puts it on a bird, and Homer and Marge discover Bart's just flying all over the place, and Homer thinks he can't get very far in the crappy breakfast he made for him.
He starts circling the bird sanctuary.
The Shelbyville Bird Sanctuary.
That's right.
The best one there is. So Bart has the house to himself, and he does good things while no one's there. He gets to bed on time and eats vegetables and takes a bath. But he does run around naked.
Yeah. Wouldn't you?
We cut to Bart, Milhouse, and Nelson. It looks like Milhouse and Nelson were drinking, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what they were drinking, but it looked
They're
like
probably drinking Dove.
It looked like cans of beer. They were grilling Twizzlers on a hot dog and putting them on a hot dog bun.
With chocolate sauce instead of ketchup.
Yeah. And Bart made sleepover shirts for them, but they both had to go home. Why did Nelson have to go home?
Because he needs to tell his mom where she is when she... Well, it's getting dark. My mom should be up soon. She hates it when no one's there to tell her where she is.
I thought that was hysterical. So Milhouse tells Bart that it's perfect boogeyman weather. So Bart gets all crazy at night. He says, "Day is awesome, night is scary," and he plays Malibu Stacy head golf during the day.
But sleeps on the kitchen table surrounded by mousetraps.
Yeah. But Malibu Stacy head golf would make up for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've noticed when I'm, like, if I'm home alone for a few days, I kind of start losing it too.
Really?
Well, no, not really losing it, but just getting...
I go stir crazy a little bit.
I do. What kind of bird was it that the tracking chip was on?
Ah, crap.
Scarlet Tanager, dude.
That's right.
And it's migrating to Machu Picchu. So Lisa discovers that and makes them take a road trip to Machu Picchu in Peru. They take llamas up. We discover Homer finally has his coca leaf addiction under control. I still want to see The Simpsons do an episode about coca traffic. I mean, I know never in a million years would somebody do that. But, like, for all the documentaries I've seen, it's just horrible the way that the American government has treated coca farmers. So, if anybody really wants to do just a totally brilliant movie that's going to win them an Oscar, do one about coca farmers being abused by the U.S. government. And they see a Bart-shaped bush once they get to Machu Picchu, and Homer says it must be from Wiracocha, the trickster god. What is Marge called when she has the vision from the Machu Picchu warrior?
I don't remember. I know he teaches her about parenting.
Sky-haired sun mother.
That's right.
Yeah, she has a vision, and they're up as constellations. They discovered that all the mothers in Machu Picchu were the most overprotected mothers in the greater Machu Picchu metro area, and they trapped people behind walls that wouldn't keep out danger. They kept out knowledge. Which was another thing that I sort of saw as a negative comment towards Suburbia, but you probably didn't, right?
Not at all.
Okay.
There's no walls here. Just better libraries.
Just what?
Just better libraries.
Did you notice that when the conquistadors invaded, all the warriors ran away? One of them ran away.
One of them sounded like Homer.
What?
One of them sounded like Homer.
No, like Dr. Zoidberg.
What? Homer's made that noise before too.
Okay. I just associate with Dr. Zoidberg. I just think Dr. Zoidberg's hilarious, so I'm sure that's a reference to somebody else too, but
I mean, it could have been Curly from the Three Stooges.
yeah. I'm sure somebody's gonna call it and tell us about that. And we discovered that the guy she had the vision from sold his business a few years ago, and he wants to talk to people. And they find the bird, discover Bart put the chip on them, and then they come home. At the end of the episode, Maggie's in South America being worshipped as a god, and they've been gone for 2 weeks, and Bart starts clinging to Marge once they get back.
Do you think that was a Home Alone reference, or just...
Maybe. I kind of wanted to see a Simpsons Home Alone-like episode. Although it would be funnier if it were Lisa.
I think Lisa would have a ball.
Yeah. You get to see Lisa run wild and actually be able to manage it. And we see she manages it better when the Simpsons are gone than when they're there. Like, the family's debt's been paid off, and they're like millionaires by the time they get home. And then we discover this episode's dedicated to Paul Newman.
Good choice.
Who had just passed away. And we are also dedicating this episode to him. And this is his second appearance on The Simpsons. He appeared during an episode called The Blunder Years. And the guests for this episode were Brian Grazer and Dennis Leary. Okay, so the last part that we have, which is something I'm going to try out, I'm going to ask you what you want to see on The Simpsons in the future. I don't know how long this will last, but... So who do you want to see on The Simpsons in the future? Out of the 3 people who haven't made guest appearances. 2 of whom are us, of course.
Let me think. I would like to see Mel Brooks in The Simpsons. Well, no, I think he actually has been on it once.
Ooh, that's a good choice. I want to see Mel Brooks write a Simpsons episode and then guest star in it.
That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know what it would be, but I'm pretty sure it would be hilarious. Okay.
I would also like to see Ben Englund. That's the guy that did The Tick, right?
Yeah. Who then worked on Firefly.
I get him and the guy who played Freddy mixed up.
Who's Freddy?
Freddy Krueger.
Oh, Robert Englund and Ben Edlund.
Ben Edlund. Yeah, I'd like to see him write an episode. I think it'd be pretty good.
Ooh,
I mean, he did good work on the episodes of Buffy and Angel that he wrote.
Yeah, and Firefly.
Did he write all the episodes or just 1 or 2?
He wrote a couple Fireflies. I have the set somewhere, but I don't remember.
I mean, I can see the set from where I'm sitting, but I don't want to get up.
Okay. I know Joss Whedon wrote, like, a large number. Jane Espenson wrote a few, and Ben Edlund wrote a few. I don't remember who else was on the writing staff. Okay, my choice? Let's see. Who would just be... Okay, I have to say Patrick Warburton.
Because you have a guy crush on Patrick Warburton.
Dude! Anything Patrick Warburton says is hilariously funny.
Oh, I know.
That's why
it's so dry.
That's why it would be... Or Alec Baldwin doing his 30 Rock voice, but he was already on there as the manatee guy.
He was also on an episode with Kim Basinger.
Oh, yeah, before they got divorced.
Yeah.
In the most, like, catastrophic divorce ever.
Oh, I know. He just, like, fell apart.
He sent the nasty thing to him. But it looks like he's recovering, so...
Yeah, I mean...
No, I want to see Stephen Baldwin... No, Stephen Baldwin was on it already, wasn't he?
I think so. What about Adam Baldwin?
He's not
who is
related
not
to
a
the other
Baldwin brother.
Baldwins. He should
What?
be on there too, though.
Yeah.
But Stephen Baldwin doing the Jesus thing.
What about, like, the
and,
cast of Firefly? Nathan Fillion on there.
And then somebody asked Stephen Baldwin, like, to name the 10 Commandments, and he gives the answer he did in that interview.
Oh, he doesn't know.
I so want to see a Simpsons Firefly. That would be the best thing ever.
Just like as a couch gag, having come out as Firefly in an episode written by Joss Whedon.
Dude, that would be the greatest thing ever.
Honestly, that would probably be one of the highest rated episodes because, I mean, Joss Whedon has a massive following. The Simpsons have a massive following.
Yes, but all of Joss Whedon fans already watched The Simpsons.
Probably.
You get like 8 new viewers.
True.
But it would help when if the direct to DVD Serenity sequel ever comes out, which has been rumored forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of think the Firefly should be continued in comic form like Buffy and Angel.
Isn't it? Those Left Behind, I thought was a
Those
continuation,
Left
or is it a
Behind
prequel?
was supposed to bridge the gap between the end of the series and the movie.
Okay.
So, as far as I know, right now, the movie is actually the end. Okay, so, next question. Which character do we want to see again? Which characters do we want to see make a return?
You know who I want to see come back?
Who?
Database.
Oh! What? You dropped Database! Okay,
I also want to see John back.
For those of you who are just turning into this podcast... Oh, by the way, we are at 40 minutes of recording right now.
41.
You're about 30 seconds ahead of me. But yeah, we're at 40 minutes of recording. So, for those of you who don't know, John's a huge Database fan, and I think Database is like the lamest character on the show. So, whenever he comes up, we'll have a huge argument over it. I think Database serves a cautionary tale, though, because parents, don't let your kids eat leaded paint chips, or else they'll grow up thinking Database is an awesome character.
Hey, I only did that a couple times, alright?
And that was just because they tasted good, right?
They do.
Okay, so who was the next one you wanted to see?
John.
Oh! Yes. John was hilarious.
It's like, why are you doing this to me,
Do
Waylon?
this to me, Waylon. I think we actually mentioned that in the last episode, but...
Maybe, but he's hilarious.
Okay, who else?
You go ahead.
Okay, let's see. I said the Orange Leprechaun last time. Who's only appeared in one episode, but who I thought was just absolutely the funniest thing ever. Okay, I kind of want to see Radioactive Man come back in an episode, because they haven't mentioned him in forever.
Yeah, where has he been at?
I think Radioactive Man was one of those things that was supposed to be like a major player at the beginning of the show, but who just sort of faded away because they focused on others. So, I kind of want to see an episode they do a Dark Knight-style Radioactive Man movie.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be.
And for the 4 people out there listening who haven't seen Dark Knight, go see it because
still
it's
haven't.
awesome. You still haven't?
No.
Dude. Man. Dark Knight's awesome. And Heath Ledger really is that good. Okay, I know who else I want to see.
Who else?
Black comic book guy from Ogdenville.
Did they have a black one?
Yeah, remember he goes to Ogdenville when he meets on the episode Natalie Portman guest stars? And it's at the Mylar Baggins comic shop?
Oh, yeah. What about the cool comic book guy owner?
What?
What about the cool comic
Oh, yeah.
store
I want
owner?
to see the 3 of them get into a Comic Geek slap fight at Baimon Sci-Fi Con. Top that in awesomeness.
Oh, yeah.
The bi-monthly science fiction convention, Baimon Sci-Fi Con. Okay, let me think who else. Oh, yes? Yes, man.
I've had a stroke!
He's good for, like, one gag. He'd be good for, like, one gag because I haven't seen him in, like, a season.
You want to go to any other business?
Ooh, what about the French winemakers who fed Bart's hat to a donkey and made him sleep in a corner on a stack of
Was it Jacques and
Cesar?
Yeah. They put
Speaking of that,
antifreeze in the
we need to do
wine.
more recordings with old episodes.
Do what?
We need to do another day soon with recordings of old episodes.
Yeah.
So I'll have plenty of those. Oh, what about oh God, who else? Let me think. Oh, Uter. We need to bring Uter back.
Uderbraten?
Uter just hasn't been there in a while. Oh, Uter. I want some Uderbraten right now. But it's so much better than sloppy Jimbos. Okay,
Do you want to move on to any other business?
no, that's all I had. So you were going to announce where people can find us.
Yes, I set up a K7 line. You can reach us at 206-339-4563. Our Twitter is Springfield Pod. And our email address is shippodcast. That's SHIPPODCAST @gmail.com. Again, the number is 206-339-4563. The Twitter is Springfield Pod. And the email address is shippodcast with 2 P's @gmail.com.
And we are... And I also have to set up a Twitter, because that's like the one social networking site I'm not set up at. So, do we have anything else? What did you think of this episode, overall?
I thought last week's was better. I thought this was, it was a decent episode.
I agree. I mean, this episode was okay. But it only had one laugh out loud moment, really.
Yeah.
Last week's episode was a million times funnier, but this episode was still pretty funny. But it wasn't among, like, the episode. It's not an episode that I'm probably going to watch again and again and come back to as a classic.
Yeah.
So, do we have any other final business?
I believe that's it.
Alright, and this episode is in the bag!